Hey everyone, welcome to Talking Tokens, a podcast focused on interviewing the best crypto founders, market players, and up-and-coming startups that are changing the industry every single Tuesday and Thursday. I'm Jacquelyn Melinek, your award-nominated host and former senior crypto reporter turned entrepreneur, and I'm excited to be here with you all. Now, let's get into it. Hey everyone, this week we are airing a special fireside chat, a quick one with Avery Ching, the co-founder and CTO of Aptos Labs. We recorded it during the Aptos Experience in Seoul, South Korea earlier this month. Before we started talking, Avery did a presentation talking about a lot of different use cases for Aptos, what developers want to build on chain, among other things. So it was basically a follow-up conversation to that where we discussed that, as well as the future outlook for Aptos. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hi, everyone. I am Jacquelyn Melinek. I'm the co-founder of Token Relations. We actually work with Aptos, and I'm excited to sit down with Avery and talk about everything that he just discussed. I think we should start with Aptos Build. At the beginning of your talk, you dive into about how important it is to build new use cases, both within the Web3 world, but with ecosystems alike. And you said you want to change how consumers and brands communicate. And I think there's a number of partnerships that are happening within this ecosystem that really are demonstrating that. But how do you kind of see Aptos Build playing a role in bridging that gap between the mainstream enterprise world and Web3 today?
Yeah, Aptos Build is your one-stop shop for thinking about how to scale your application for blockchains without worrying about the complexity of blockchains. It's really intended as a tool to help you build. And we've been excited to see toy makers and what they've done with it, and a whole host of customers that are very interested in taking advantage of that. And the goal is really, how do we enable them to do what they're best at, which is build engaging experiences for their customers? And how do we kind of make that as simple as possible for them, taking away the complexity of blockchain?
Mm-hmm. Where do you think the demand is coming for Web3 applications from like NBC Universal, toy makers, et cetera? What do they really want out of this technology? And then on the other side, like, what do you think they should want if it's not necessarily aligned?
I think what's amazing is that each of these different companies have the same goal, which is, how do I connect better with my customer? And Web3 provides that direct connection that's not possible today with a lot of the intermediaries that exist. In that group of companies you've mentioned, NBCU, toy makers, I'd also throw in Kid Labs, which was talked about yesterday. Having intermediaries kind of disrupts the communication between a brand and their client. And so being able to develop loyalty programs that ultimately turn into different forms of advertising and marketing are just unique in Web3. You can drop an NFT directly into a customer's wallet. You can drop a digital coupon in there. You can advertise. You can also put up loyalty programs that just aren't possible because there isn't that connection that exists. And all these experiences are tightly coupled and connected and only possible through Web3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're so concise. I love it. You're very well spoken.
I'm an engineer.
You also, yeah, that makes sense. Woo, engineers. Shout out to the devs. You discussed Aptos transaction costs and how low they are, and also the daily transaction volume and like the peaks and everything. Where do you think it's going to go in the future? Is it going to keep going lower in sense of the transaction costs? And then where do you see the most potential for these daily transactions to really propel? I mean, we saw Tapos and everything doing extremely well, but what other unlocks are out there?
Yeah, we think that the low cost of transactions is key to the adoption, right? I think we've seen in other ecosystems that high transaction barriers, when you're paying multiple dollars for transaction, tens of dollars for transaction, it really limits what's possible in Web3. And the use cases I do want to highlight here are especially in the payment space. Streaming payments, autonomous payments, which is the future. Having AI robots that trade on your behalf instantaneously in sub-second time is going to require a massive transaction rate. If they're very expensive, people won't do it. We've also seen DEX aggregators like Panora be able to get massive traction because I can route through many different paths and not have to worry about the transaction fees as being the key reason why I can and cannot do that. Whereas in other networks, if it's just too cost prohibitive, those options just aren't there. So being able to support very, very low cost transactions at high throughput and the low latency just enables a set of use cases that just aren't possible in other networks.
Mm-hmm. You also said it's not enough to be the fastest and cheapest. You also have to be able to support the scale. So looking to the future, what other ways do you see Aptos scaling, let's say in the near term?
Yeah, and the scale thing I think comes from a lot of our background working at Meta and Facebook. When we think about the scale there, it's not going to be kind of in today's Web3 terms of 100,000, 1 million users. You think about billions of people accessing a product, and anytime there's downtime, it's millions of dollars of advertising revenue being lost. And so we can't have that, obviously. We've got to think about the future. And we want the largest companies like Facebook, Meta, and others to be adopting this technology. They're not going to do it if it's not reliable, if it's not scalable, if it's not cost efficient, if it goes down too much. If they have a worry of that, why would you risk your business on any of those things? It's just not possible.
Mm-hmm. What is being done to keep up with the high throughput, finality, low cost, privacy, et cetera, especially as the world and the blockchain space continues to evolve so rapidly?
So we're definitely happy about where we are. As I mentioned, we were able to support the world's largest payments use cases on Aptos today. But in order to enable what people haven't thought of yet, the innovators in this room are obviously thinking beyond that. What can you do that you can't do in Web 2? And a couple of things that are there are, for instance, payments to large groups of people. No company can go ahead and KYC millions and hundreds of million users to use their bank accounts to pay them. Web3 can do that. You can create a wallet, you can drop tokens in there. USDT is obviously something that's come to Aptos very recently. We've seen the HKSA as a stablecoin also being moved to Aptos. We'll see a lot of that adoption in terms of stables in the future as well. And being able to move that money very quickly and efficiently, and will it just enable things that just aren't possible.
Mm-hmm. You brought up stablecoins, and recently there were announcements of Tether and Ondo stablecoins integrating into Aptos. What kind of roles do you see that playing for the network and the people involved in the ecosystem?
I think that they play very complementary efforts. Each of them has a different use case. Tether's used in a lot of emerging markets as a store of value. We've also seen that Ondo is a different kind of use case where USDY is a yield-bearing stable that allows people to get return on that holdings. And we also see other stables taking other use cases. The HKSA will be used in Hong Kong as a pilot for the government. Each of these is different, and we expect that this will unlock a lot of value that, again, traditional institutions can't do today.
Mm-hmm. And then on the front of Move developers, there's been a number of integrations for them, but how do you kind of empower them and make sure that they are getting the best experience within the Move ecosystem, but then outside of it as well, so that the applications they build on Aptos can also, be cross-chain?
Well, this is a tougher one. I'd say Move is a very opinionated language about how we think that development should be done. Wolfgang at 1 o'clock will talk a lot about Move 2, and you should definitely stick around for that. We believe that the Web3 developer experience has to fundamentally change today. It is too hard and too risky and too error-prone for people to kind of just take their idea and ship it to production. Move is a chance to solve that from the ground up, thinking about how the compiler, the VM, the tooling around it can be just as good and better than existing developer environments, even that exist with Python, C++, Rust, and others. It's something that has to fundamentally change, and our team is really excited to lead the charge in innovation in that space.
Mm-hmm. And how does the EVM side play into this? EVM-based devs on Aptos, there's talk of the Aave v3 proposal. Stani from Avara spoke yesterday as well about it. How do you kind of see that happening, if it happens? Let's start there. Do you think it'll happen?
I'm optimistic. I'm always an optimist.
This podcast is sponsored by Galaxy. If you're immersed in the world of Web3, Galaxy is a name you need to know. As a decentralized super app with an impressive 21 million users boasting over 100 million monthly transactions, Galaxy is elevating its impact with Gravity, the magnet chain for Web3. Gravity is designed for full chain abstraction, zero knowledge proof-based privacy, and rapid transaction speeds, all coming together to offer an unparalleled user experience. Gravity opens the door for developers to effortlessly build on the largest on-chain distribution platform, and for users, it promises an even smoother, more secure journey through Web3. It's not about being on-chain, it's about being on the right chain every single time. Galaxy is on a mission to onboard the world to Web3, and Gravity is the magnetic force that will propel the vision forward. Ready to launch your Web3 journey? Build the future on Gravity. Visit gravity.xyz for more information.
I think Aave is an amazing protocol, a very well-trusted protocol in the DeFi Ethereum space. And we are very excited to see them thinking about how Aptos can actually support and enable their use cases much further with their low cost, scalability, and even safety around the Move Prover. We've known that they've been very excited about the fact they can formally verify aspects of their code. This allows them to ship changes faster with more reliability. This allows them to move quicker in the space. And Stani is an amazing champion for all things DeFi, and it seems like all things move these days.
Mm-hmm. There you go. All things move. I like that. How does that kind of expand the reach of developers, though, into the Move ecosystem? Kind of going back to like my other question of, bringing Move people out into other ecosystems and chains, but then EVM compatibility into Move.
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, someone asked me this yesterday as well. Like, are you Ethereum aligned? I think
are you?
Absolutely. I think looking at Ethereum has been an amazing vision of what decentralized compute can do. Mm-hmm. And while we may have differences of opinions on the technical side of things, we love that. But technically, of course, we believe we can build that infrastructure that's going to be faster, more performant, safer through a better developer platform. And so as we kind of share that with the Ethereum community, we see protocols like Aave and others kind of moving over and trying out Move. And I think they've always been pretty excited about the results. We hope to see more of that in the future.
And stepping away from that, given the panel title up there, future on Aptos, where do you see the most potential for developers, let's say in 2025 on Aptos? What are you really trying to accomplish next year?
So next year, kind of just recapping the talk a little bit, we believe it's all about moving up the stack. We build out great infrastructure. Now it's time to enable those developers in these areas of finance, advertising, marketing, direct connection with customers, building out tools and relationships there, and also building the technology that will enable them to do things that aren't possible in today's world.
Mm-hmm. How does Block STM play into that? I know you talked about that in the last one, but explain it for the rest of us.
I think just recapping a little bit, there's sequential compute, which is Ethereum. There's kind of static parallelism, which a couple of the earlier chains wanted to adopt. That's great. There's dynamic parallelism, which is what we pioneered. And dynamic parallelism is based on two things: Block STM and a pipeline infrastructure. Block STM allows developers to build more easily, support runtime optimizations that aren't possible in other network, and allows us to support that high throughput we talked about earlier. Block STM v2 is going to take all this work and ship it to the next level, from going from 16 to 32 to 64 to 256 cores and beyond, maybe to multiple machines over time. We've run a lot of benchmarks in that space and seen that we can actually get to millions of transactions per second.
Mm-hmm. Based on the conversations you've had yesterday, and I know it's still early today, but the conversations you're having today, what is it that the Aptos community really wants? What are they most excited about?
That's a wonderful question for Aptos community, but
yeah, you guys can shout it out.
I would say, from what I've talked to a lot of folks, I think what they're looking for is something that's different. Bashar highlighted this a lot. We've seen a lot of promises of what things can be possible. But what they also want to see is what is going to be possible through the technology, through the vision, through also support of the foundation and others to kind of nurture an ecosystem and build out a new economy that is just really the way Web3 is supposed to be. And so while I'm a tech guy and I love the tech that we're building, it is a holistic experience of how do we get from that idea that you had as an entrepreneur, as a developer, that I want to ship, and being completely unblocked by the infrastructure, completely unblocked by how do I start a business, by investment, by market adoption and GTM, all those things to launch that we really want to support them in. And we've been excited to see this community of developers build out incredible things, and the next generation of developers to even think further and beyond that.
Mm-hmm. How would you summarize 2024 so far? I know we have a couple months left, but
2024 has been awesome. It has been ship fast, ship frequently, deploy amazing infrastructure at scale. It has been amazing DeFi growth and ecosystem growth, and I think it culminates into this experience. We're very excited to have this first Aptos experience and see the amazing success it's had already so far.
What would you say were like the 3 biggest moments for you so far this year? Whether they were announcements or just moments with the team or the community?
That's a great question. I don't think there's any eureka moments. I think it's really about small changes that add up to something big. Mm-hmm. And so seeing like how we started the year and where we are today in terms of that infrastructure, it didn't happen like in one big shipment. We ship incrementally. But we couldn't get to the kind of latency numbers that we got to, in one big shift. It was a series of changes over time. We couldn't get to massive scalability in one big shift. Tapos launched in May, set some amazing numbers, shipped again in August, and shipped even more amazing numbers. And so those achievements are something that we'd like to see building up over time and continuing throughout time. So also people have a chance to also experience for themselves. But if I had to really highlight a couple things, I'd say just the way the infrastructure has grown to the point it is today is one big thing. The shift now into moving up that stack into more finance and the new economy. And finally, of course, the amazing work the ecosystem has done to kind of grow itself into a global platform, culminating into what is today's Aptos Experience.
To wrap things up, what is something that the community can look forward to that's a surprise?
Ooh.
What are you keeping from us? There you go. Yeah, we have a lot of experiments in the team that we have not shared yet. And I think one fair criticism of our team is we don't talk about all the work we're doing as much as we should. I think this conference has given us a great chance to share the work that Sasha and the team have been putting together. You'll hear a lot about Move. I'd say that these two kind of best kept secrets are the ones that are really going to change the game going forward. Amazing best-in-class developer platform, amazing infrastructure, and an amazing ecosystem that is going to really live out to the vision of what Web3 can achieve, which is decentralized infrastructure for everyone across the world. Okay, sounds good. Avery, thank you for taking the time, and thank you to everyone for listening in.
And thank you, Jacquelyn.